Archons and parasitic entities that feed off your fear and anxiety. Rudolf Steiner describes anxiety, depression, and fear ravage so many today, but few pause to consider that in addition to the material influences in our lives, we may also be under the influence of beings which exist in dimensions outside of our ordinary perception. But there is much more to reality than what we can see, feel, hear, taste, and touch. In fact, an accounting of the matter that makes up the universe reveals that some 73% of it is made up of dark energy, and another 23% is made up of dark matter, neither of which we can see nor understand. Furthermore, the human eye is only capable of seeing around 0.0035% of the entire spectrum of electromagnetic radiation. When we look into the heavens, 96% of it is invisible to us. Include in this the spiritual realms, and there is an entire universe of possibilities which exists beyond our five senses. Very few scientists today are willing to explore metaphysics to examine life beyond ordinary perception in order to make a connection between the seen and the unseen. Rudolf Steiner, though, one of the most prolific and gifted scientists, philosophers, and esoterics of his time, devoted much of his work to the task of peering behind the veil, sharing his insight into the deeper nature of life and of the world beyond. Regarding anxiety and depression, Steiner spoke of hostile beings in the spiritual world, which influence and feed off of human emotion, a concept flightly rejected by most today. Yet this also analysis is true. It holds true for shamans and others who access the spiritual dimensions in order to alleviate mental suffering for their patients. Many are familiar with the notion of energy vampires, or people who suck your energy and feed off your negative emotions. On the existence of similar entities which exist in other dimensions, Steiner wrote, quote, "There are beings in the spiritual realms for whom anxiety and fear emanating from human beings offer welcome food. When humans have no anxiety and fear, then these creatures starve. People not yet sufficiently convinced of this statement can understand it to be meant comparatively only. But for those who are familiar with this phenomenon, it is reality. If fear and anxiety radiates from people and they break out in panic, then these creatures find welcome nutrition and they become more and more powerful. These beings are hostile towards humanity. Everything that feeds on negative feelings, on anxiety, fear, and superstition, despair, or doubt are in reality hostile forces in super-sensible worlds, launching cruel attacks on human beings while they are being fed. Therefore, it is above all necessary to begin with that the person who enters the spiritual world overcomes fear, feelings of helplessness, despair, and anxiety. But these are exactly the feelings that belong to contemporary culture and materialism because it estranges people from the spiritual world. It's essentially suited to evoke hopelessness and fear of the unknown in people, thereby calling up the above-mentioned hostile forces against them. This is what Rudolf Steiner explains to us. Negative emotions are food for inimical spirits. A concept such as this is not readily accepted into the everyday conversation, steered by rigid skepticism and scientific materialism. The traditions of today have sought to expel ancient metaphysical wisdom and its practical application from our lives, and though scientific inquiry is exceptionally valuable, spiritual perception has always been a part of our experience. Bernard Gunther says, and yet, despite the clinical skepticism, all of the ancient mystery schools, true shamanic insights, and esoteric teachings, much of which have been suppressed and or distorted over thousands of years for obvious reasons, have conveyed this truth for the ones with eyes to see and ears to hear, using their own language and symbolism to be the general law, esoteric Christianity, Archons, according to the Gnostics, Lord of Destiny to Hermetism and Predators to the Flyers, the topic of all topics, shamanism, Castaneda, the evil magician, according to Gurdjieff, the shaitans, Sufism, the jinn, Arabic mythology, Wetiko, the Native American spirituality, occult, hostile forces, Sri Aurobindo, and the mother, the integral yoga, etc. Dealing with extrasensory or hyperdimensional beings have long been a part of our history and are directly accessible to any of us when proper practice and attention is given to the matter. I know this to be true from my experiences with plant medicine shamanism, where it is entirely possible to enter into the states of consciousness where entire cosmologies of life exist and are available to interact with. Finding oneself in the rut of spiraling negative self-talk, depression, crippling anxiety, or uncontrollable irrational fear is a sign, as Steiner points out, of a disconnection from our true spiritual nature, exacerbated by beings who operate in the spiritual realms. And this is why some consider disorders like this to be spiritual illnesses, and until the rift is healed with proper attention given to the development of spirit, the feelings tend to exacerbate and drive one further into distress. Rudolf Steiner says, when humans have no anxiety and fear, then these creatures starve. This by Dylan Charles, Waking Times, and it's on Humans Are Free by Alexander Light. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.